He's more of a hands-on learner,
Yes.
a manager type.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. So he's kind of a middle man. He's not cooking things and he's not on the streets selling them.
Again, he's
delivering them.
Again, he is not the boss. He is the manager, Rick Ross.
Yes, manager Rick Ross. So yeah, he kind of graduates from like selling, little like tiny amounts of drugs to people who just need it for the day to actually like kind of networking. He says the only way to really start making money is to get out of town. So he starts driving up and down I-95 all through the South. He says like heroin is great money, but it creeps him out.
Sure.
So he's more into the other stuff.
Yeah. I respect that. Heroin, bad time. All the other stuff, potentially a good time.
He said it wasn't brain surgery, but it did keep me busy. but he's still... there's a lot of explanation of like his associates in this book of like basically all men who have ended up either murdered or going to prison for a long time.
Sure.
I kind of couldn't keep track of it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
This is the Rick Ross's up and coming associates are like the girlfriends in a rock star's memoir.
Yes. 100%. So then he's still on the side trying to get his music career off the ground. He's rapping in a group called the Carroll City Cartel. At one point,
that's the Triple C's.
Triple C's.
Okay, yeah, those are referenced a few times in his songs.
Yes. At one point, he gets to freestyle for Shaq.
Oh, when Shaq is trying to have a rap career.
Yes.
Ooh, that's cool, but kind of an ignominious beginning to him.
Yes, he said he was very proud of it though. He said he was like he had one line about like punching someone so hard they like fell out of their shoes that Shaq was like, "Oh wow, this is great." But he's not the music career does not pop off as much as the he's making way more money running drugs.
Right.
And he says, when it comes to music, I can say with confidence that I'm self-made. But as far as the dope game, I have to admit I was a beneficiary of nepotism. So he acknowledges that like he's just part of this network, right?
Right.
Like he's part of these giant groups of people selling millions and millions of dollars worth of drugs. And he wasn't carving anything out for he was not
a drug entrepreneur.
He's not
truly, as I was joking earlier, he wasn't a drug boss.
Yes.
He was a drug manager.
Yeah. He was a perfectly comfortable like middle zone. So that when everyone started getting implicated, he didn't go to jail.
Honestly, if you know your lane well enough, you know.
Yeah.
Well, low enough that it's not worth people flipping on you.
Yes.
High enough that you have some authority over people.
Yes. So then in the late 90s, that sort of dried up for him because there was a sort of post-war war on drugs wave of like people getting arrested. He signs to a Houston record label called Suave House, which is exciting for him. And Suave House founder Tony Draper bought Ross his first Rolex. And it wasn't in advance. It wasn't payment for what he was doing.
It was just a gift?
It was just a gift.
Aw.
And Ross says, he said, when I opened the box, I almost shed a tear. That bitch was mint. I consider myself to be a collector of timepieces. I got the Audemars Piguet that Arnold Schwarzenegger wore in Terminator 3. Dr. Dre once gave me $100,000 Hublot, but none of those watches hold the same sentimental value.
Aw, I hope he still has that watch.
I hope he does too. But so he signed to this label with this guy who buys him this watch, but he's not really prioritized. I'm glad that he has
Arnold Schwarzenegger's watch from Terminator 3.
I'm just imagining him like in the theater just being like, damn, that
Why
watch.
is Arnold Schwarzenegger wearing a watch in Terminator 3? He's a Terminator. And why is he wearing a nice watch? He's a machine. He's literally a robot with a clock in his head.
Why
did they put a watch on it? Wait, I need to fact check Arnold Schwarzenegger watch Terminator 3. Was there some like tie-in? Yes. There is some kind of like fancy ass machine watch.
Yes. That is so funny. Why does he need to wear a watch?
Why would a Terminator need to wear a watch?
A Terminator should always know what time it is.
You think you're a robot. Robots don't need to wear watches.
My goodness. So he's signed. And he also says that at this point, like Miami music is not like happening the way he would like it to, which is why he goes to Houston. He's not really getting paid attention to. His contract gets bought out by this guy who has a label called Slip and Slide Records.
Good name for a label.
And this is a South Florida thing. so now he's on Slip and Slide. He still is languishing.
He hasn't really released any music yet.
Yeah, he hasn't had his own album. He's ghostwriting for people like Trina, which Trina's awesome. So he's written a couple of things for her. He has access to Kanye West pre-car accident.
Okay.
He like spends a day in the studio with him. So he's like,
Kanye's just like producing.
When he's producing, and Kanye had just produced the beats for Jay-Z's
Blueprint, I believe, yes.
So like he's accessing all of this stuff, and he's like so close.
It's at arm's length. He can almost grab it.
He talks to Puff Daddy.
You know what he's doing right now?
What?
Hustling.
He's hustling. Oh, 100%. He talks to Puff Daddy.
That's so
or
funny.
P Diddy or whatever the fuck his name is.
The hustling. In his music, it is very much like I feel like the vibe is that the hustling was like the drug stuff, but the drug stuff was very much like day job.
Yeah, it was clocking in,
clocking out. Just drive this shit up to Georgia, drive back. The hustling was getting the music stuff going.
Yeah, where he didn't have the nepotism.
It's much more. It's weirdly much more pure than I thought that this story was going to be.
And I mean, he definitely at least he says he can get into some trouble in the sort of drug world.
Sure.
But not to any extent that he's like getting arrested for stuff for the most part. Anyway,
he's more or less keeping his nose clean.
You're right. The hustling is primarily in the musical space. At one point, he has access to Puff Daddy. He's talking to him because Puff is starting, I think he's starting Bad Boy or like some sort of Bad Boy offshoot.
But is he making the band at this point?
I don't know. This is pre-making the band, as far as I'm aware.
He's making the band like late aughts?
Mid-aughts. Mid to late aughts.
Like 2005, 2006. So this is like pre.
This is slightly pre that.
This is Bad Boys for Life.
He's rebuilding after B.I.G. died. Mm-hmm. And Puff is like, I'm not interested in what is essentially a Miami Notorious B.I.G., which is what Rick Ross's vibe is. Is like a big guy with like a smooth voice. Like he's like, I can't do that. That's not interesting to me.
I already had one of those.
I already had one of those, and he died, and I'll never recover. So yeah, he's hustling.
And I'm very sad about it, very publicly.
He's up for a deal with Atlantic, and that falls through. And he says he's like, a panic had started to set in. Like I'm fucked. Like nothing is happening for me. And he's also like at this point he's focusing more on music, less on drug stuff. Like he basically doesn't have any connections anymore. So he's like he has a nice car that he's sleeping in.
Oh God.
What else? What has happened? He's playing shows for like $250, and then like he talks about this one. This is a low
as
point.
One of my friends from high school always said, he was always fascinated with very fancy cars, and I was like, that seems decadent and absurd.
Yeah.
Why would you buy a $250,000 car?
Why?
And he I just always remember him looking at me, square in the eyes when I was during one of these conversations and saying, Chris, you can sleep in your car, but you can't drive your house.
Yeah, that's what Rick Ross did.
Yes.
So he talks about this one night. He has played a show for $250. He's with 3 of his associates. They played a show in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yes.
They have to drive to Miami that night. They're all drunk and tired, and he basically is like, I don't want to waste this money on a motel room because this is my I want to recoup this money. So he picks the guy who didn't perform of their posse and is like, you are driving. Mm-hmm. He falls asleep at the wheel. They get in a huge accident, flip over a couple times.
Jesus.
Everyone is fine. They book. The cops come. Thank God nothing worse happened. The cops come, run all their names, and they arrest Rick Ross, who has a warrant out for a domestic dispute charge that one of the mothers of his children put out on him at this point. That's low.
Yeah.
He even puts in the book, he's like, I thought things were good with her. Like, we just chatted last week. I can't believe she did that to me.
Damn.
Yeah, by the way, he's had 2 children at this point.
With 2 different women?
With 2 different women.
Okay.
So, once again, not really mentioning the women in his life, whatever.
Yes, that fucking sucks to flip over your car somewhere probably in the middle of the Everglades or some shit.
Yeah.
And the cops come and they're like, God, are you guys all right? Okay, everybody looks like no injuries. Anyway, you're coming with us about something completely unrelated to this.
Yeah. Got you on the warrant. So yeah, this is
That's why you
I
should
would
call
say
the
a low
fire
period.
department if your car flips over. There needs to be a 911 that's for all the services other than cops.
Yes.
811.
So this is when Rick Ross really starts to shine. Like this is when it seems almost like something takes over in him, like something
in the pros,
in the pros, and just in what he starts to like do with his life.
Well, is this his first arrest?
He got arrested for weed possession a few years ago,
okay.
but other than that,
this is his first like more serious thing.
Yes. So he said, like, I stopped repping Slip and Slide records, and I started dissing them publicly. started calling them Slip and Slime records. He breaks into
more like Slip and Slime.
He breaks into the studio where he recorded some completely abandoned music with Slip and Slide and steals all the equipment.
Hell yes. Wait, he doesn't steal his like master tapes. He just steals the equipment.
He steals the equipment, and the label boss, he's like, for whatever reason, the label boss didn't send anyone to take it back. He's basically just like takes the L. He's like, you know what? Honestly, yeah, I did this guy dirty. I should have paid more attention to you.
You know what? You got me there. Take all our sequencers.
He starts doing diss tracks for absolutely anyone who moves or walks. He disses T.I. for T.I. calling himself King of the South because he's like, I'm King of the South. He disses various local radio personalities. He disses DJ Khaled. So this is where DJ Khaled comes into the story. Involved. They are close personal relations and have worked with each other for many years.
Well, they came up same area, same time, right?
Same area, same time. DJ Khaled.
I actually really don't know any of DJ Khaled's backstory.
DJ Khaled came from DJing high school dances in Florida.
And then clubs and then South Florida.
Clubs in South Florida, and then having a radio show.
I mean, that's Florida. What I assume that I would have, if you had made me guess where DJ Khaled came from, but he really did seem like he just emerged fully formed as like an internet personality. As a meme in like 2013 or something, right?
He was a host on the Miami hip hop station 99 Jams. That's Jams with a Z, baby.
See, that's one of the funny things about like the hip hop world is that you can be like late into far into the 21st century and still make hay and get a name off of insulting people on the radio.
Oh yeah.
Imagine like an up and coming indie band insulting like local Z1 or Hot 100 radio station DJs or something. Everybody would be like, who the fuck are you talking about?
No, they would be totally like ethered. Yeah. Because there's no like mixtape culture. There's nowhere to fall back on. Yeah. Like if you're not on a major label, I feel like you would just be totally screwed.
Yeah, and a lot of people people talk about like the decline of the relevancy of rock music or whatever, which I think is something to dispute. But one thing you can say is that there are daily morning radio shows all over the country just talking about hot new releases in the hip hop world.
Yes.
And people
interviews
pay attention to them.
And culturally relevant interviews. Yeah. Like when who's that idiot who squealed on all his friends? Tekashi 6ix9ine. Yeah. When he squealed, everyone was pulling up these old Breakfast Club interviews with him where he was just like, I'm the best rapper alive. And everyone's like, no, you're not. I'm the hottest rapper in New York.
Yeah. England seems to have still a lot of that culture, but for some reason that just like totally disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's all the rock radio stations moved to like morning zoo formats.
Yes.
Where people were like doing prank calls to like local pet stores and shit like that instead of talking about obscure beef in the rock world.
Yeah.
And because hip hop had to be a little more close knit to even like get noticed, I feel like that culture persisted. This is like total armchair theorizing on me.
Yeah.
But,
And hip hop is, at the end of the day, even if people group up, it's an individual thing.
Yeah.
Individuals can fight one-on-one and it's more interesting.
A lot more about like the narrative.
Yeah.
Than the tunes.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, Rick Ross is coming guns blazing. So DJ Khaled, at this point, he's a prominent Miami and Florida-based DJ. He's also, this now makes sense to me. Remember Terror Squad, Fat Joe and Co? They hired DJ Khaled as their DJ.
Okay, sure.
For live shows.
He was like the MC.
And then that's how he
was the DJ.
He was literally DJ. Yes, so that's how he like was put on in the world for real. National relevance. Rick Ross. So he goes to this club where DJ Khaled DJs on Saturday nights in Miami. And he says, everyone else like will send him drinks to get their songs played on the dance floor. And he's like, fuck that. I put out a diss track saying I had a stack for whoever brought me his Terror Squad chain. Meaning that instead of just buttering up one of the most prominent Florida DJs who could potentially make him, he's like, I will spend $1,000 on someone to try to rob him.
Well, if you want to get noticed, I mean, look, if your strategy is getting noticed, that certainly stands out more than sending, the DJ Khaled the 6th rum and coke of the night. Or whatever.
He's like, I'm full, bro. Like,
I'm working here.
Yeah.
Look how many flutes of champagne are lined up next to me.
I'm hammered.
Meanwhile, some guy tries to take his chain off of him. He's like, well, hey now. Hey.
Who sent you? Where's Rick Ross hiding?
Yes.
But so he's getting more aggressive.
I also just like the idea of, this whole, of the lighthearted fantasy of a whole community of South Florida MCs and DJs basically playing like capture the flag with each other's chains just to get noticed by each other.
Yes. Well, remember 50 Cent was all about that. I think they got Ja Rule's chain at some point.
Yes.
It's truly like I feel like it's the equivalent of like, Dothrakis, like once you lose, like you cut off their ponytail.
Yes, exactly.
It's a masculine thing.
Yeah.
Pendulous. So he's
all those pendulous chains.
All those pendulous chains.